Welcome to Tarmac to Single Track. Today, as you can read, we are at St. Joseph State Park in Valley Park, Missouri. It's time to ride the King Quad ATV 400. We are going to head out into St. Joe and go first of all across the old river bottom. A long time ago, they used to mine lead out of this area. So there's always been a warning of danger lead here. But I think the lead has been mined out a long time ago, like decades ago. But the warning is still here. Said, you want to be careful anyway. So I'm taking my 2023 King Quad 400cc out across the sand. We're going to go up into some of the main trails and start riding the perimeter road area. The camera is mounted on a fairly long and tall arm on the handlebars of the ATV. And though you may not be able to tell it here, this is a bit rough. And the anti-jitter on the cameras have taken it down to make me a nice smooth video of this ride. I spent about 2.5 hours of it here. I'm just going to hit you some of the highlights and let you kind of take a look at what it's like. This is mid to late summer in Missouri. The trees are all full. The trails here, they have an organization that grooms the trails. And I think they groom it once in the spring and once at the end of the summer. So in about another 3 to 6 weeks, they should be going over the trails that are a little bit rough and smoothing them out. Right now my speed is between 8 and 10 miles an hour. This is a new ATV. I bought a 2023 leftover. I picked it because the price is good, and I've had 2 other ATVs that were Suzuki King Quad 400s and a 450 in 2007. The only modification I've got done to it so far is I added a 2-inch lift kit from Perfex, P-E-R-F-E-X. The installation on that 2-inch lift kit is on my YouTube channel, and you can look at that as well. As you can see, there's not a really big challenge to this section right here, but we're going to have some more interesting sections the farther off we go. I do want to mention a couple of things. From the camera perspective, seeing as how it's mounted on the handlebars of the ATV, you may not always get a good representation of how steep some of the trails are and how sheer and deep some of the rock ledges are. So as we go along, we'll try and point out areas that are a little challenging. Now the King Quad 400 is like the namesake says, it's a 400cc ATV, but it has 4-wheel drive selection, and it is a selectable locking front hubs. So very little is going to stop this thing. It will go places that I'm a little, and quite frankly, I've been a little afraid to drive it, but it's always went everywhere that I needed it to go. It's never flipped on me, although it's felt like it was ready to at times. It's never flipped. St. Joseph, Missouri, I've been coming here for years, probably 20-25 years. As you can see, the trails here are fairly wide. UTVs typically go around what I call the perimeter trail. The perimeter trail is probably 6 to 8 feet wide. It is kind of rough in a few spots, but certainly nothing that any UTV or ATV or even dirt bike can't manage. Uh, for those of you that ride two wheels like I did a lot in my younger age, you have to keep a little bit of velocity up. The great advantage of an ATV is you can stop even mid-hill and look things over and then press on the best way you see fit, which would include backing down and starting again. On motorcycles, I wouldn't suggest that in most cases unless you're really experienced and with a large group. All right, so since this is I'm on my own on this, the only people you'll see are the people that pass me and you see as I'm riding around. So there's other modifications that I would like. And the first one being a winch. And the winch that I want is a winch that you can attach to the back of the ATV. Now this whole day you won't see big mud puddles that are normally present here in the spring and in the fall and during wet weather. But if you drive into a mud puddle and you get that buried in the front end, the winch in the front end is going to be difficult to get to, and you have to string it under the ATV to pull you out backwards. Whereas if you mount the winch in a receiver type hitch and make the wiring where you can disconnect it, put a plug in the electrical wiring, you can now put the winch on the back of the ATV, string the cable up, plug the connector in, start the I'm going to start the ATV no matter what to keep the battery up, and then winch yourself out. You should have plenty of power to do that without the engine running, but why not keep the battery up while we're at it? And this section you can see is a little bit more hollowed out. You can still get a UTV in here. It was just going to ride higher up on the walls of that tunnel area that you go through, or that swale area. What you can't see is how really steep this is. It's very easy to get up and down. And I choose sometimes in this area the harder path, or the path they called less traveled, because the guys riding dirt bikes and other things, they're usually going faster than me. So I want to give them an alternative to get around me that's not as difficult as what I'm choosing to go through. For those of you that have been to St. Joe, it's a nice place to go. They are continuously putting in new trails, and again, as I say, maintaining the trails, which some ATV places I've been to don't bother to maintain them. So we're about 10 minutes in to this. You can see starting to get a little bit in the rougher area here, which is okay by me. I'm fine with that. There's nothing here that is so terrible that you can't get through it, or you should be really afraid to. Just take your time and pick your way through it. Most of the time I'm running in two-wheel drive high gear. There are a few times when I'll switch to four-wheel drive low gear, and that's just so I can power my way out without the tires just slipping and turning and digging holes and not going anywhere. For those of you that follow YouTube some, you might have heard of Matt's Off-Road Recovery. And what I learned from Matt is when you get this thing down deep, you don't have to give it, in most cases, a lot of throttle to get it out. Go into that four-wheel drive, go into that low gear, ease on the throttle, all four tires are going to turn. It's going to pick you right up off of whatever you got. Even if it's on mud, I've pulled myself on top of the mud by going slow, and out I go. So a technique of driving in some cases is just as important as having all of the right equipment. I usually like to go with other people. The last time I went with my friend, and it was kind of interesting. My friend always carries more than you need. So anytime something broke, he seemed to have whatever we needed. So this time when we went out to a different location other than this, he nerfed a tree and bent his steel wheel enough to break the bead, and that broke. That caused the tire to go flat. So I told him over our helmet communicators that his tire was flat, and we stopped, and he goes, "Well, now what are we going to do?" And I said, "You're going to take a rock and pound the bead back down, and we'll air the tire up." And he said, "How are we going to air it up?" And I said, "With the compressor I have here." So it was very quickly, I got the compressor out, and that day I saved the day of that occasion. But again, it's a team effort. When there's two of you out there, someone's bound to have what you need to fix you enough to get home. That location was wet, did have some mud, and less than 100 feet later he got his ATV all stuck in the mud, and so I managed to cross a creek at a different place, come back, take out my strap, and pull him out to save him. Again, team effort, and why I would want someone with me when I go somewhere. Now this is a little bit more interesting area that we're into right now, and I'm going to back up and go forward a couple of times. I really wanted to go through these trees, but that's not quite 48 inches wide. So I'm backing up. I'm engaging the four-wheel drive. Right now I'm backing up against a tree. So here we go. Can't quite get it turned enough, so I had to back up a little bit, give me some room, and we'll go at it again. This is not a really tough spot, but something that is unless you've rode this spot a couple of times with your vehicle, it's kind of hard to really know where you can and can't take it. So I'm feeling my way around it here. Again, I'm backing up, getting on that side. The ATV is tipping to the right quite a bit. I get down and boom, I hit that rock with the rear wheel. But other than that, it was an interesting day.
Soundstripe.
Well, here we are. Battery's about to die, so we are going to end this video here. If you've ridden this area before, you know I'm on the very eastern end, which usually has a lot of water in it, but it's been dry, so it's all dry here. There's no water even in the wash. So everybody take care, keep riding, have fun, and this is Tarmac the Single Track saying we'll see you next time.